there is rumors in corridor of power that William Samoei Ruto might extend the term limit to 7 years. If not so, then he might postpone the general election in 2027. And as things stands by, it's already indication, or rather, we have already started to see the signs that indicates that 2027 general election might be postponed by William Samoei Ruto. And in this video, I want to draw your attention and we reason together, or rather we try to unpack the truth behind this allegation. And you may not agree with me, but still you can also drop your thoughts in comment section. Invasion of Jubaland troops in Mandera. But for the shock of many, government has not talked about this issue. Government is just silent, and of late we all have seen Kipchumba Murkomen defending the fact that there is no any troops of Jubaland in Mandera. But now let's come back to reason together. As I had promised you, let's look at the key officials in security states in this country. I think almost all of them, they're the Somalis, and if they're Somalis, they're trying to protect their interest, and they're trying also to try and protect their people. We cannot just come and say, okay, this place has been invaded, even though the governor of that county still proved that, but the officials in government has denied that fact. Now, guys, now walk with me. Let's go back during the Sabasaba demonstration. During the Sabasaba demonstration, there was a lot of goons in town, and some of the goons were transported in specific areas so that they may loot and do all sorts of destruction to business people, or rather to the business of the people. But the government were trying to profile one ethnicity group to the other. And Martha Karua, as you listen her carefully in this clip,
vile naona Kasongo akiendelea anataka kuharibu nchi ndivyo aweze kudeclare state of emergency. Ameona ya kwamba Kasongo ameona siku zake ziko karibu kuisha. Anatuma wahuni kuchoma police stations, anawachoma, kuharibu mali ya serikali, kisha anasema ni wafuasi wetu wanafanya ile. Sisi ajue ya kwamba hatutamruhusu kamwe kukeuka katiba ya Kenya na kupeleka hii nchi kwa state of emergency. Wanataka kusema ati Gachagua ndio alifanya demonstrations. Zilikuwa peke yake. Mutaruhusu Kasongo kutaabisha Gachagua? Harambe! Tumwambie tukiwa hapa Narok, ukigusa Gachagua umegusa Kenya mzima.
Martha Karua alluded that, as you have watched in that video, that there is a plan with William Samoei Ruto to declare Kenya as the state of emergency so that 2027 election might not take place. That was 2 months ago. But as things is aligning, we are also heading to the same conclusion. Back in Nairobi CBD, there is a lot of goonism. You cannot wake up early to go to work. You cannot do all of your things. We have small groups of which zimeunda magenge, but you cannot tell me that easy magenge zina prosper, but the head of state or those people who are in charge of security, they don't know if these groups exist. That is the big things that is the big question that Kenyans we need to ask ourselves. Now that Kenya will be ruled with guns, and from the invasion of these foreign troops, or rather the foreign soldiers in our country, it will enable William Samoei Ruto to just declare and postpone the general election, and nothing that opposition can do. That is my take on that, and you can drop your comment section that we can reason together. The second story of the day, we all understand that Kenya is the state of finance. And the second story of the day, guys, we all understand that Kenya is the state of corruption. Even the boss of the country was ranked as the second corrupt person worldwide. Ndinti Nyoro, the former chairman of the finance committee in parliament, has just shocked Kenyans today as he said that 3.4 billion Kenyan shillings is being borrowed daily, and we cannot trace where this money is going. It's just being borrowed, but everything, and when you try to trace where that money is going, you cannot even get it. Just listen to him.
If you read the central bank data, it shows that the Kenyan economy, we have now borrowed. Our national debt is now over 12.1 trillion Kenya shillings. For the last 3 years, our country has borrowed in excess of 3.5 trillion Kenya shillings. So I would want to request all of us as the leadership, and especially those who have the opportunity to make decisions in the executive, let us serve our country with dedication. And let us not seek to give good narratives out there when the Kenyan economy is actually being teared down or torn down. We have borrowed over 3.5 trillion Kenya shillings in 3 years. President Kibaki borrowed 1.2 trillion in the entire 10 years he was president. And therefore we have borrowed 3 times in 3 years. We have borrowed 3 times what Kibaki borrowed in 10 years. That's the money Kenya has borrowed in the last 3 years alone. 3 times what Kibaki borrowed in 10 years. And in that money, I have not included other debts that Kenya has now become clever to borrow in the name of something called securitization. I have not mentioned even that. It therefore means the economy of Kenya is borrowing 100 billion every month. And every single day, when the lights go off, every day, every single day, Kenya is borrowing 3.4 billion every day. That we are borrowing in a minute. You can do the calculations and see. In an hour, maybe we are borrowing around 137 every 1 hour. I'm saying this because we are now headed to the elections. And what governments do, they focus more on re-election, and we forget that we have a country to lead after the elections. And what that means is that every time we are nearing elections, we start having something called fiscal expansion. Because maybe there is nothing much to be seen for the past year, then in basically 1 year, we want everything to be seen. And therefore, what do? We become reckless in borrowing. Kenya is there now. That now our debt is 12 trillion Kenya shillings. I want to request that we do not have to put our country in that kind of pedestal in terms of borrowing. Kenya has always had development for the many years, but we never had to borrow that much. President Kibaki did a lot of development. He borrowed only 1.2 trillion for 10 years. Where is the 1.2 trillion we are borrowing every year going? To make the matter worse, everything you see with your eyes happening in Kenya now, in terms of development, what you can see, for example, the expansion of this Keno-Marwa road, is not even part of the 12 trillion borrowed. is another column on the side called fuel levy securitization. Everything else you see in Kenya in terms of development, like even the Talanta Stadium, is also not part of the 12 trillion debt. That is another debt, securitization of the sports fund, where we borrowed 46 billion and will be paying 100 billion in interest rate alone after 15 years. Even the expansion of Nairobi-Nakuru Road is also not part of the 12 trillion you have borrowed. That is NSSF money being used as a PPP to build that road. I request those who are in government, you have already borrowed 1.2 trillion every year. And even what we can see with our eyes is actually not part of that borrowing. Please, kueni na huruma ya nchi ya Kenya. Even as we preside over the affairs of our country, let us be, tujue kwa akili zetu ya kwamba there is Kenya after elections. Let us not run our country in terms of overheating it. We must avoid to become like Sri Lanka. We must avoid to become like Ghana. We must avoid to become like Ethiopia. We must avoid to become like Zambia in the recent years. Because Kenya is a strong country with internal resources. This issue of profligate borrowing must come to an end if we really care about this country. Asanteni sana, Mungu awabariki.
Only printing in State House takes 2 million per day. Actually, which kinds of printing is this? Or rather they producing posters or rather billboard daily. Even though if I produce billboard daily, I cannot use 2 million a day for just printing. Atujeka chai. Where are we heading as a country? And with that, guys, peace and love. And with that, guys, thank you for choosing Kenya Political Brief as your primary news platform, more so on politics. Kindly please share this video to a friend. If politics is your passion, this is the place you really wish to be. Kindly subscribe. Bye bye.